Ian, how you doing? Welcome to the webinar.
Good afternoon, Ian. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Good stuff. I suppose welcome everyone. It's our second webinar of the of Evercam, I suppose. First one of the year and first of many from this year. So I'd just love to give a quick introduction. So some of you might know me, some of you may not. I'm Owen, head of customer success with Evercam. I'm with them for 4 years now, and I'm joined here by Ian Donaldson, project director of the forum in Care Construction. Ian, you've been around the block. You've worked on many different construction sites. I'd love if you could just share a bit about kind of your history and where you are now.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thanks for making the time. Ian Donaldson, the project director at the Forum down in Gloucester, UK. It's a £100 million plus mixed-use development of joint venture between public and private, regenerating the centre of Gloucester as part of the larger Levelling Up government initiative. Delighted to report that we're nearly finished. We've been on the project for 3 years. So a little bit about me. I'm a civil engineer. I graduated in 1990. I've been in construction now for over 30 years. Started out in the Middle East. For those that are slightly older like myself, Norman and Tebet, no work getting your bike. So I headed out to Far East, to Hong Kong, and worked in many large civil engineering projects as a young engineer. Came back to UK in the late 90s and been in the UK working in various healthcare projects, leisure projects, waste to energy project. What else have we done? International Convention Centre, coffee factory,
Graham there.
factories, indoor ski slope, nuclear research, say various waste to energy plant.
I imagine that construction has changed a lot since when you were over in the Middle East. And
Yeah, it has. It's got it. A lot of it hasn't changed, and a lot of it has changed. The fundamentals are still very similar. But certainly, certainly got slower since I came back from the Far East. That's for sure. Came from A to B is a lot more difficult than it was over there. It was certainly an education. I think it was more of an education for me coming back to the UK than it was going overseas. I was fortunate enough to work. I've done some data centers in mainland Europe, and I also was working responsible for a hospital in Australia. So I've been very fortunate. Certainly, health and safety certainly improved, or the stats have got better. The quality of buildings got better. The process has certainly got more complicated.
yeah,
Certainly much more, stakeholder management probably much more complex than it used to be.
and how do you manage those projects now? I mean, if we're looking at the forum, you see they're about 3 years in on that project now. Kind of I suppose, how would you define it now compared to how you would have defined it back then?
I mean, all these things come back to construction project. It sounds very trite, but it really all still comes down to people, people and processes. Really, if you get those two, good clients, good people, and good supply chain. If you can if you can get those three things right, you've got a good project. One of those not working, then the whole thing goes out of balance. And obviously, people are supported by good processes and tools and technology, which is what we're talking about today. Uh,
Yeah.
it's not technology. I think in many cases we people get bamboozled by technology, as I'm sure somebody will realize throughout this webinar. I'm not necessarily a techie for the sake of tech. I really just want the tools so there's a single point of the truth, and anything that can make the day to day and the larger issues easier. I'm very conscious of just due to economic, there's quite a big gap. Well, there's people that have been around the block for a long time, like myself, and that trying to attract younger, more able, emerging talent. We call it people into from all walks of life into construction or technology or engineering. You know, use of these sort of
Probably
tools
a real challenge. As you say, kind of different generations getting them in. I'm right in saying it was yourself who decided to bring Evercam onto this particular project. So I suppose I'll share this tab here. And I suppose what was the deciding factor there?
Yeah, it was just, I mean, mine is, I go back to so simple, single points of the truth. Um, records. I mean, when I started out, you had to write a diary every day, and an A3 sheet of paper had to be submitted, records. It used to take you hours and hours and hours. And, photographic evidence is just, it's a picture. It doesn't tell, it can be interpreted, but it doesn't tell too many lies, We use Evercam here externally. We use various other bits of software internally. And the Evercam software allows you to integrate other software, which I think, Evercam will be first to, to say there's lots of people out there trying to tell you that one piece of technology that's the answer to all problems. I think it's fair to say that doesn't exist, So, we went with Evercam and stayed for 3 years, and we'll go through some of the detail of what it actually means just on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. And I suppose then, obviously, we've got the benefit of being on this project from the very start. What did your planning look like, and kind of what kind of tools do you use as part of your planning process?
Yeah, so we used Asta, which is fairly well known. You can use Primavera, and then we model the building in Revit in 3D. So with the Revit in 3D. So this is a D&B project. So the theory is that it's designed before you start work. Not in the D&B is the audit, though never necessarily the case. But we built a Revit model, which you can see here on the screen, which is overlaid and federated by our lead designer. So that's what we plan to build, and then what we in conjunction with that, that's the what, as I call it, and then we've got the fourth dimension, which is the when and the how bit. So I don't know if you could maybe flip on a slide, and you can see that how we planned to build the project.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if we jump then from this view here to any one of these cameras, you can see then the form. I think it's probably good. You will load this out. So that was our plan, and this is, I suppose, our actual. And Murphy's rule says that it'll always freeze when you're trying to present on the screen. I'll jump into one of these cameras here, and quite this way where we can see this nice view of that plan versus actual loading out for us. I suppose while we're waiting for that to load out, Ian, you also said earlier just about the people, and kind of there's a lot of walks of people who would be very well versed in the likes of BIM, and the ones who wouldn't, and I think that's probably quite a challenge. And how do you get those on board? I think we spoke before this call, and you were talking about one of the big things is cost consultants and all the systems they have to view and they have to understand. How do you kind of transition from as you said, writing your site diaries and proving your work there, to knowing what's important to share on
we have a real sort of a broad church of people, I suppose, is probably the best way to put it. I mean, we've got, there you go, technology for you. There you go. Yeah, we finish off. We use this information on other. I personally am quite open, and we try to drive that through. We share the cameras. We use that information, and there's a video to communicate for plant meetings. We have it in the background. It just open and transparent. That's the journey. Our end user, who's local government, they like it, like a takeaway they can present to the local MP. So it's really good from that point of view. It's a visual. Everybody likes the video, don't they? We use it when we're doing some safety walk downs or quality walk downs, just general progress. I mean, we've only had 3 days off over the Christmas shutdown. I mean, I look at this remotely. If people are working remotely, our design team are working all over the UK.
Yeah.
They dial in, and we use it as a bit of a collaborate. We don't use it for everything, but it's a good communication tool. It's a good platform. If you can show them a picture, engage. For example, we've got this pane here. This is one of the cameras. We've had a challenge with unknown or undefined underground services. There's been a real challenge on this particular. So this is specific on the hotel. We found a gas main, a 24-inch gas main, which is quite substantial. And you basically have your BIM model, and then when you go to actually go and build it, it's on pristine. So you have to replan, and it's implications about the job. So it's just a good way of communicating. Work the plan and plan the work. Sometimes not necessarily in that order. So it's a good communication tool. So yeah, if you plan it, it just makes managing the unknowns much easier.
Yeah. Sorry, might drop a little bit there, or connection dropped. But you'd said there, kind of from the plan, if you plan it right. Have you had instances here where that's not gone so well?
Yeah, I mean, we had once we established the unknown, you can plan, and once you reset the plan, and then you can demonstrate the impact of the program, or more importantly, what you can do to work around it. So, we redesigned scaffold access, we redesigned this access as a one-way in a very, very busy part of town. So we demonstrated to the third-party users, if we do this, we get their buy-in, and then off we go again. So it's not just a plan on the drawing; it's a live, living document, and it's easy to articulate when it's on the drawing. And for example, if that way, down to, so one is communicating with a local member of parliament if that lorry driver decided to come in the other direction, and he says, "No, I didn't." In this particular instance, I'm not suggesting he hasn't, but it's an egress route. He's doing exactly what he should have done, and he's going out the right way. So if we haven't actually had to use it, but it can be used as if like the insurance policy. The records are there. The truck came out at a certain time. We have a record. Good, we have an interface to the public, and we've got a responsibility to protect the public. And it's just you just know that the records are there shouldn't the event to be required. And if somebody's standing where they shouldn't be, we'll talk about that maybe in a minute with a co-pilot, with some of the more interesting stuff for some of the younger guys on the call. There's some work these guys are doing with the recognition, some of it available on co-pilot now, and there's just machine learning, that maybe coming soon. I think we'll maybe talk about that later. But, from a guy standing on the gate to making sure a truck goes out, you can count how many trucks you use. The capacity is really whatever we want to make it, but we don't use all of the capacity. Like in any piece of software, we don't necessarily use all of it. We use other pieces of software. A challenge within any business. There's various suites of information. I mean, we use 4D. Do we use 5D in this project? Where we put attribute for Procore throughout. We use Procore, which is another tool. Some of the audits that we've use that as a business group. It can be viewed through this portal. I think there's a lot more work to do. I think it'd be fair to say across the industry, and not just between ourselves, but how we can collaborate and use all the information in a single place, or certainly be accessible from a single place. But
yeah, because as you said there, we do have that. We have an integration there with Procore, and we can share back and forth. But as you said there, how often would you use that? You might not use every single aspect of Evercam, but it's about kind of finding the parts that work for you, right?
Absolutely. No, we used Hollow Builder, which is one of somebody else in the field for internally. So when I'm looking at progress, say of a night, or I just want to have a reminder, I just go into the software and click a date, click a time, and it's your record, it's your diary. Listen, so it is. Some of it's a look back. As I say, we got as any project, you've got some challenges, and it just refreshes everybody's memories of what happened on that day.
Yeah.
Some contentious matters with our client, and we do a lot of words, a lot of diagrams, and a lot. And we just slot in one of those photographs, and some expert witness do the photographs, the facts of the facts, and you can write it. One photograph speaks 1,000 words. Come out with a cliche and get fined for that. But yeah, it's just records and transparency and openness, really. And for somebody like me, a lot of like me, it's quite easy to maneuver. Yeah, we were quite fortunate in this job. We decided on 2 cameras. In hindsight, yeah, maybe we could have had some more cameras. But where did you start and where did you stop? We don't necessarily use it for security, but again, we have another system for security due to insurance purposes. We're right outside a public transport hub. We get potentially quite a lot of potential for people breaking in, and the record, the cameras are there, and touch wood. Yeah, but it's just record, really.
Yeah, I think you made a good point there that at early stages, when you were deciding to bring the likes of Evercam on, you think 2 cameras might be enough, or it'll suit your site at that time. Is that in hindsight, you might have put them in extra places at those times. I think with respect to your days where we're looking at a brownfield or a greenfield site, and you capture everything, whereas
Oh, agree. I mean, the real reality of it, the reason we put those 2 there was the 2 buildings we put the cameras on were owned by our ultimate client, and that being Indonesia. I'm not going to make it any more complicated. That absolutely might have stiff at other cameras. I think I'd still be talking about trying to find out the ownership. But then we used the drone footage, which can be integrated into the system as well. Which I don't know if you can flick that up.
That appear should work for me again here.
So, again, the drone footage is a good project reviews with aerial photography.
Yeah,
and then we can put that into the model, as you can see there. And then if you do,
and you're doing pretty regular drone flights, right? You've been doing them every couple of months.
Yeah, it started off slower, but yeah, you've got to take them in a certain way to get the quality and the resolution.
Yeah, I noticed that at the very early stages, like if we go back to, I can just compare here to one of the older ones.
There you go. So there's a 19. So there you can see on the left-hand side when it starts itself out. But on the right-hand side, that's a bus station that we built quite some time ago, an interface. This is the biggest green wall in southwest England on a car park, which will turn into it's actually designed to be turned into residential whenever cars are banned. But the whole purpose is to get these guys not working from home, and there's a cyber facility that the startup tech facility. You can work there, and then you can live there, and you can play there. There's gyms and cafes, and there's a 4-star hotel. Indigo, it's quite funky. There's a bar upstairs, and there's a restaurant downstairs. And if you want to work, sleep there if you want to. So there you go.
That's it. I was about to say it might be hard to get me to leave my work from home office, but you're making it sound pretty appealing with all the amenities that you built in.
It's a regeneration. Yes, it's getting rid of the 1960s. Some of the old buildings are beautiful, actually, in Gloucester, and some of the newer stuff in the last 50 years, possibly not so. And this is a real, they've had a lot of interest and, a lot of courage shown by the council to invest. And we've got our first tenant in, so that's good. The big pink building on the left-hand side, so we use, just touching on that, it's probably too much for now, but a lot of this material was manufactured in Portugal and in Poland, and you can see the progress of the building as it was built. With a lot of very weather dependent, so we unitized a lot of the work off site. So designed and manufactured for construction. So yeah, it showed, as you can see, the building on the left hand side was built in the factory, and the building on the right hand side is built the same way as the Romans have built it. bricks, all 200,000 of them. So very, very good.
Competition to do processes very different.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this building actually not particular is actually export electricity, which is positive. Only in the summertime, I might add. It doesn't in the winter time, but in the summertime it actually exports, which is all part of the carbon initiative. But you can see from these photographs here, I use this with our logistics team regularly. It's a really, really busy road, and if I look at that road and if it ship,
But it doesn't the left hand side here.
yeah, this the road market parade, this road coming through, that if
Yeah.
the management of that road is absolutely crucial. So when we have what they call daily activity briefings with the team, every day we talk about work the plan the work. If that road is absolutely crucial to feed the whole building. So you have a plan on a piece of paper, you review the plan against this, and to demonstrate that's what we said we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. So in an ideal world, if you look at the BIM model and you look at the photograph, they should be the same. Now the reality is that's never the case, or it's never exactly the case. And it's just a good opportunity to review your plan, review your phasing, and and we have another 3 months to go to finish the whole project, and that road is crucial to the completion of the project. And you can see it's now coming to completion now. But
We could just
we've got good neighbour right beside us, and we've got to keep the guys operational. So Tesco's closes, or the local resident. And so far so good. Yeah, no, just the useful tool. Yeah, to communicate.
And other than the fear of closing the Tesco's, and what would be your biggest challenge specifically on this side?
Yeah, it would be the number of phone calls I get would be the first challenge.
Am I taking up too much time?
Yeah. It's just because it's just we're right in the centre of town, and it's got all the challenges, but it's just managing that. It's just talking to the manager of Tesco's, who are very powerful, and as long as they can make their turnover and their footfall, and we manage it in a planned way, they acknowledge that their business is going to improve when this is complete. So it's just managing through that local, I wouldn't say pain, but it's just managing. They're a very mature business. But they know how to run a business, but they also understand, because we were part of building them their shop in the first place. So we actually knocked down one of their buildings, build our building, but before we could knock down our building, we had to build them another one. So yeah, it's just communication really. But yeah, business continuity is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose you said you've 3 months left on this project, and I presume you've been moving on to another one after that. But we touched on it a little bit earlier about kind of what we see in the future. I'm going to open up a poll just to the audience here and to see what people would like to see from reality capture, and I'll give it a couple of seconds. But you might see the poll there yourself, and kind of what you want to see more of. We've got drone, the likes of 360, which you said you used it with Hollow Builder. Got that AI, and we've product integrations. For yourself, kind of what would you love to see more of, which would make your job easier day to day?
It's something we've looked at recently, where using the Copilot has to be capable. You can actually take a shot of what we're looking at now, and it picks up how many guys are standing there. It doesn't tell them whether they're wearing a safety hat or not, or gloves or goggles. There's a machine sitting there. I don't like using the word AI particularly, but just the intelligence, what information can be sucked from that photograph that can be put into data. Yeah, it can be put into something that you can actually manage and do.
I think that's a really, really fair point, right? I think a lot of people are, ourselves included, get kind of very excited about AI. We get excited about what it can do, and it's going to change the world and going to change everything. But you kind of said there about just being able to see using that data in an intelligent. We're very early stages here for our Copilot. We've done a lot.
We're delighted. While you're on there, I'm delighted to see the guys are moving on site. That's a good thing. They're not standing there.
Yeah, that's a great, perfect start, right? If they were just standing still, that'd be bad for business. But I suppose, what are the values?
They're probably had standing around behind in the smoking get out a shot of the camera, the other 50 or something. Yeah, we've got.
At least not doing handstands on screen. They've learned at least that the cameras are watching. And I think part of that is that, we had all this data, especially, this particular project we've got it off. We can see a couple of prompts we can make here, and I won't go into too much detail, but, being able to see the past work, right? So being able to create a working hours time lapse of the past month is a really handy prompt, you know, and it's not necessarily using full AI. It's not telling us exactly what to do, but instead of us navigating through time lapse, going through different functions within time lapse, we can just very simply create a 60-second send, and it's going to go do that for me for the month. I think we're all very excited about that, where it can grow to. In time.
I had to play with it the other day, actually, for my own sort of. It's endless. What I mean, it can be just a lot of useless information, but that's because you've asked a lot of stupid questions. And but I can see, yeah, efficiency and in the marketplace in the UK economy. We talk about zero growth, etc. And the only growth is attributable potentially to inflation, but actually, are we actually doing any more work? And we look at this very closely with how many person hours worked in a month, value or cost, value, hours worked, and it does start to generate quite a lot of it generates sufficient information that it begs quite a lot of questions. Yeah, we talk about does digital technology, it can improve efficiency, but there's a lot of other things need to improve as well to allow that technology to drive the improvements that are possible.
Yeah,
and that all revolves around people. I go back to people, and people and businesses. That you can this technology, you could argue, is that the power of it is that it is balancing that with the reality of where we actually are in the construction of the minute. And the danger is that there's no danger. Yeah, businesses need to catch up with the technology that's actually available. They need to get with it because there are some tough times ahead. Again, I've been through 4 or 5 after a slowdown, and we need to use it more.
Yeah, and I know joke there about half the guys in a smoking area doing handstands, but I think efficiency is a really big factor of that, and I think from what you've said here, like being able to use these tools in the way that is suitable to you, right? You're not going to use absolutely every function that's from any tool that you use, but being able to go in and look at what's going on. You said that this project's 3 years so far. You got 3 months left, and man hours were important. You just mentioned that. Are you on time, on schedule, or kind of?
So I'll answer some of your question, but not all of it. Yeah. Yeah. We just under 1 million person hours actually worked on site. And if you put some of the off-site manufacturers, so it's a massive investment. We've had some challenges. We've handed over one building, and we will be on time when we're finished. We've got having some discussions you have with clients, but we work with them very closely. The tenants have moved in, and they're coming into the hotel now. It's an international hotel which attract a lot of people to Gloucester, whether it be for the rugby or for the horse racing or the Cheltenham Cup. And that's on track. That will be open in the summertime to plan. And they were just putting the kitchens in the final fit out now. So we've got 150 people on site at the minute. We're 7 days a week at the minute. So it'll be fantastic. Yeah, so we'll get to about 1 million hours, which is where we thought we would be at.
Amazing.
It is. When you actually dig into the efficiencies, how many hours worked on site? Yeah, you'd struggle to get actually hours worked because we have a separate. We talked earlier on about different pieces of software. We have a separate system we use for data scope, which is for recognizing facial recognition, because we want to get lots of other constraints and right to work and all the other regulations obviously that we have to what to adhere to. Yeah, about 6 to 7 hours on site is average what the guys will work a day, but it's a lot shorter than you'd actually, probably a lot longer than a lot of industries, but probably a lot less than a lot of industries as well. Yeah, so productivity is particularly challenging. Yeah.
Just wanted to jump back as we were talking about the AI and kind of using Copilot there. This is just that video that we prompted with. I think it was 2 prompts, and this is a minimal amount of that million errors that you've come up to. I'd say maybe less than 100,000 over the last month. You mentioned there kind of your overall fit out, and we can see kind of you made the point earlier. You use other tools for internal kind of tracking, because as you can see now, the external is kind of flat. It's very much, other than landscaping, I presume, not a huge amount on the external, but we can still see that work that's going on. Some of those men, and I remember that at the bottom working away.
Is there any way you can challenge the AutoPad just to count how many people are on site? Just that's quite an easy one, isn't it? Does it identify how many operatives or how many machines are on site? Just how long will it develop?
I can give it a go. My devs are going to be cursing you now to see if we're putting them on. So we'll give it a second to load out there. And that's going to give me a variance there.
So I put you on the spot, or how many machines or something there?
Yeah, we have that with our brain tool as well. Because I know I'll get in trouble demoing something that's not quite ready for us.
Yeah, that's all right. We can both be told off together.
Yeah. Yeah, where are we going? Gotta start nice. Not even checking for me.
There's an opportunity for all you tech guys to solve this challenge.
That's it. Yeah, they're probably solving right now as we're discussing. I'm conscious of your time. You said you've too many calls, so I don't want to take up too much. But I think I might just hand over to the audience and see if there's any questions that they'd like to ask.
Please.
One telling me my mic is too loud, and I think it's probably a bit late for that. That was early days. If anyone else has any questions, I'll hang on for a couple of seconds. One of the other things there that I noticed we were talking about the drone view, and a big thing for you is that plan versus actual is when plans change. And I know that I'm quite conscious that I don't want to reveal too much, get you in trouble as well. It's my opportunity to get you in trouble. But how that might happen from your planned drawings initially of what the site layout and plans look like to changes that happen very drastically. One that was shared with me yesterday by your team was this overview of the kind of utilities. Like off. I don't know if you can talk much about this, but can you talk to just this that we made a change? Awesome.
Oh, absolutely. So, we talked earlier on, we've got some quite a substantial gas main, which we didn't anticipate, which on the critical path of the project. And this just clearly shows that there's a BIM model of what we thought we were building. And the reality is, if you can show the photograph, you can probably see in that there's a large gas main that had to be diverted around. So just communicate what the plan was. And plans now got to change because we've encountered an unknown.
Green here is that gas mains, and is the one on the right what was meant to happen or what was expected? The result, and the new plan is the one on the left hand side here.
Yeah, so it was actually the existing gas main went below the building, and then we've had to divert it around the outside footprint of the building. So that's been a challenge. And, it goes back to, you can only plan what you know about. You can't plan what you don't know about. So,
yeah. And I think we have a view of that actually.
It's the graph that showed up quite nicely. So.
Yeah. Uh, just as the questions come in, Shannon has asked there, putting you on the spot, is kind of why does it matter so much to be able to count people on site or equipment on site?
Because somebody's paying for it. It's basically records. The truth. Not counting you for the sake of counting you. We analyze every day how many people are on site, which particular trains are on site, and you get a rhythm of. You said there was 10 guys doing that work, and there's only 5. So just gives you knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes, because whether they're 5 or 10, I'm not interested really whether they're 5 or 10. I'm interested in whether they're doing the work. But if they've only got 5, if they're really efficient, I'm delighted to do it with one person. But it just gives you a bit of knowledge. And what you'll find is the supply chain, once they realize, I'm very open with it, once they realize you're tracking this information, you'll find that the owners of the business are very keen to get hold of that information as well. And I'm quite happy to share it because it's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's actually, it's something that companies who we know will be working another 10 years or 20 years are the ones who are very open to sharing that information, right? You said they're very happy to share the cost and kind of, what the variance is and there with our clients. I think a good follow on to, as Corbin has just asked here as well, you've mentioned cost a few times. And do you have any examples of of how Evercam has saved you money, or any of the tools that you've used that's managed to save you on cost over the time that you've used it?
I'll give you an honest, it's actually very hard to, if you need a business case to put something together, I can produce any amount of information to say it saves 10 times more than I spent. But it's quite hard for me to actually, it's only, as I suppose, I can put any business case together to justify why records and the truth is justifiable. So I can't really give you a straight answer. That one photograph for me, I can say it justified X. To me, the communication, if it's 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 500,000, how many people do you get for that? Not a lot. So it's business as usual. Business as usual, and communicating. It's relatively small. Mm-hmm. The real power of this will come in when we can integrate some other technology into it. I think that it turning the information that's contained within this. I think is when you'll really start to get real demonstrable. It's a bit like BIM. People in just BIM 3D modeling. It's all, nobody would not do it nowadays. How much does it actually save? Very, very difficult. Some people, that costs money, doesn't save money, but you can't go backward.
Yeah, funny. I'm not in the industry near as long as you are. I've been maybe 8 or 9 years I've been in the industry. And when I started, BIM was just it's the biggest thing. It's going to change the world. It's going to change the way that we do construction. And to your point there, like, people aren't adopting, and, if you're not learning and developing with it, you're not going to get the value. Now, it's integrated in a lot of things there. But I think we're at that same stage with AI now, where if we're using it independently, get it brought up.
When I started out, there was no such thing as a safety department. There's a safety department. Then there's no such thing as a quality department. There was a quality. Then you get a BIM department or a digital construction department, and then next thing will be an AI and information department. So it can be. You end up with a layers of more silos that don't. So the whole thing is to get controversial, to get rid of all of that. But you didn't that have a design department either, because that used to be my job. You got to be very careful, or else you just create these unmanageable silos, really. But all of it is about. I go back to what I said at the start. There's good clients, good people, and good people. When I mean good people, I mean all the technology and the process that can allow them to do their job, and supply chain. And there's examples of us sharing. What I'm finding quite exciting is a lot of the supply chain before would have been sort of quite a parent-child relationship. A lot of the more mature suppliers are adopting this technology a lot quicker than currently clients. I'm not saying ourselves, but you know, a lot of the younger, more agile supply chain they want this. You know? But
Yep.
our civil the groundworks contractor, they use this all the time. You know? Because it protects them and allows them to communicate as well. So communication is a two-way thing. Sometimes it's important.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think kind of you said there just the changing in departments. If you have AI, you need a new department for that. And building that communication. I mean, I even noticed it over the last couple of weeks while we've been talking. I've been talking with your team with getting up to date models and getting up to date information. As if you're not collaborating, then it doesn't matter how good this tool is if it's not really actively used.
And you've seen some challenges that we've had to pull that together, but you can see that that's reflected in the side of the way the businesses are structured. They're actually perpetuating. Well, it's actually not the individual; it's just how the business is structured and the people's behaviours are structured as a result of that.
Yeah. I'm cautious when I'm out of time. I might give you one more question and let you get on with finishing up this project. This one comes from one of the guys, Corbin. You mentioned you've been in construction for over 30 years and that having the right attitude and being open-minded to this new technology. What assisted you in making that shift to moving from a pen and paper, I suppose, to really embracing the likes of anything digital, be it reality capture, any of the tools that you see use now?
Did you say the blocker? Sorry.
So, assisted you in making the shift. So, what made you decide to, I suppose, move with the times? Where I think a lot of people, forgive me, but in your position, might say, do you know what? I've been working this same way for a while. I'll just labor my.
No, I should say I'm not a techie person. Technology for the sake of technology sake. I suppose I've worked with some good people from different. The Polish senior site manager I met about 15 years ago worked with me on the coffee factory, and he was just a really practical guy, but he was a whiz kid, and he could make sort of technology. You just see the power of it. And get on with it. This is good, and it's also you gotta, he was a young guy but really keen, and just for his own motivation. My job is to let people be the best version of themselves. This is kind of come out with another cliche, haven't they? I'm just you can see. I mean, there's a guy. This guy I was talking about, Mihal. He was doing this 15 years ago, albeit not quite as sophisticated as this, but he was doing it in a very clunky way. But yeah, again, our big blue chip client loved it. Yeah, he's now working for them. Yes, it's just letting people get on with it. Yes,
You've said it. You've said a few times here that you're not a techie. You're not one of those people, and yet, just from talking to you here and from what we discussed, you're using BIM, you're using drone, you're using pretty much every tool available to you. But it seems as one is that passion for it and knowing the value of it, right? Being able to use the ones and how you might get value from it. You don't have to be a techie, I think, is the answer there. You don't have to be techie to understand what the benefit Evercan brings you, even if you can't give us a monetary value on that question.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. That's not difficult. It's when I see a guy on site looking at an iPad with the information, and they're starting to raise issues on on a mobile phone, because that's the medium guys use. The more senior or more senior in age guys, they have to come back in the office, go into the desktop like me. But when you see the guys on site punching away, yeah, you've got a crack then, because the tool that they're using, that they want to use. If you can make it as agile or as easy as WhatsApp, you really got a crack. But that's quite difficult to control. But it can be as mobile as WhatsApp. If you looked at the 7 most profitable stocks in the world, there's a reason Meta and Google and these guys are Zuckerberg are where they are. It works for people. It works. Technology that works.
Yeah.
And
I think that the same is that it works for you, or works for your customers of Ryan's, and
you're following some procedure because that's what the procedure is. If you're using a piece of software that's it, because you want to use it because it makes life easier, then you've got it cracked, really.
yeah. Ian, I'm conscious. I've got you for 50 minutes here so far. I might I think we'll wrap up here. I suppose any closing thoughts?
Just thanks very much for your time. Looking forward to bidding the next few projects and seeing where we can take it. The co-pilot and making it happen and encouraging younger, more able people, not necessarily from an engineer, just people from a broader cross section of society to join the construction industry. It's been good to me, and I've got a few years left. I'm going to pass on some of my good habits and some of my not so good habits, hopefully.
Well, look, we'll absolutely be by your side up until when you decide not to be on those sites anymore. We look forward to working with you as well. Massive thanks from myself. Thanks for everyone for joining. I'm sure I'll see you on the next one. And any questions that weren't answered, we'll get them answered as well. Much appreciated.
If there's any questions I haven't answered or people want to talk separately or feel through yourself, we'll have it.
Right, we'll share your LinkedIn anyway. You'll be bombarded with questions, no doubt. Ian, thanks very much, guys. Thanks, Ian. Take